Good morning, everyone. How are we all?
Morning. Yeah, good, Martin. Thank you.
All good. Okay, so this morning it's a pleasure to have Glenn along. Most of you probably know Glenn anyway. I've known Glenn for a number of years. I think we met at a networking event in Norwich Kitty years ago, and we've been good friends and business acquaintances since then. And Glenn's knowledge on sales, I know you don't like referring it as sales, but building relationships. His knowledge on sales is second to none. Excellent bloke, lovely bloke to boot. So I'll let Glenn introduce himself in a little while. If we just go round, I'll do it on the order on my screen. If you just want to give a quick introduction to yourself, so Glenn know who he's talking to or talking at. Start off with Kim.
Morning, everyone. Kim Simple Law. I'm a solicitor. What else do you want to know, Martin?
That's fine. I said a quick introduction. That'll be perfect. Raymond.
Yes. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Raymond. I run a business called Technical IT. I look after your businesses.
Thanks, Raymond. Jamie.
Good morning, Jamie Allen. I help businesses understand who their customers are, how to talk to them, and put them on a central CRM to manage those customers.
Excellent. Thanks, Jamie. Mel, just in time. You came back just in time then. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, and then I'll just appear for a minute. I'm Mel. I'm a florist in Halstead with wild hair. I do a variety of plants, flowers, and seasonal balloons, party balloons, that kind of thing. And I'm actually moving into garden centre things as well, so I do vegetable plants and all sorts.
Excellent. Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Sophia.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm Raymond's niece. I'm learning about how to do social media and all that stuff.
Excellent. Thanks, Sophia. Ethan.
Morning, everyone. I'm Ethan, and I'm currently doing a level 3 digital marketing apprenticeship.
Excellent. Thanks, Ethan. Just in time, Kevin. Join us from Ukraine. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself, Kevin?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. My name's Kevin. I run a little side operation called Go Race Events. So if any of you are into Formula One, please get in touch. If not, I'm also a crane operator, and I'm sitting 40 odd meters above Barrack Street. If anyone wants to give me a wave. All right, that's me.
I wave every time I come past, Kevin. You never wave back. Good to see you again. Okay, so Glenn, would you obviously introduced you, how we met and how long we've known each other? Would you just like give us a quick introduction into who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Yeah, so I run, my company name is Time Associates, but I run two businesses that have been pushed forward successfully through COVID. So one is called My Virtual Sales Director, and that's where I work with companies of all shapes and sizes and people of all abilities to actually work with them to grow their business, to create more sales, like if you had a sales director, but for a fraction of the cost, but all the levels of expertise. And my most recent venture, which I've been avoiding for about 5 years, is called My Virtual Contact Center. So that would be where we would again work for businesses and on their behalf contact people for a variety of purposes, working very closely in collaboration with Jamie at the moment on a thing called data diagnostics. So if you've got a database of clients and prospects that for whatever reason, COVID being one of them, that you haven't been in touch with for a long time, that you want to make what we would describe as marketing fit, i.e. accurate. And that's one of them. And the other one, Kim, is that there is another more pressing reason, or as pressing reason for doing that, which is contacting people to make sure that their database is GDPR compliant. So that's the two sides. My virtual call center, my virtual sales director. Telesales, telemarketing, sales in general is my passion and my expertise. So you'll perhaps find out a little bit more as Martin asks me some questions.
I have actually got quite a few questions for you, actually, and I'm probably going to put you on the spot straight away. But please do. I guess I know from my perspective, I hate sales. I hate doing sales calls. I hate cold calling. I don't feel comfortable with it, but it's something every business needs. You know, if we can't sell, we haven't got a business. So leads me on to my first question, really, Glenn. Why do people dislike salespeople and sales messages so much?
I think Oh no, I know. It's because we all, this is a human trait as well as a professional trait, we hate being sold to. And we've all got loads and loads of memories, perhaps less so for Sophia and Ethan, but certainly where we've been sold to and we bought something and very quickly we've regretted doing it. So as one of the things that I do within the sort of the sales training side of stuff is I've got a strap line that's selling to is dead. It's changed dramatically. So I was incredibly fortunate that when in my mid-20s, I went and worked for Eastern Counties newspapers as well in their telesales department. And it was really simple. If I rang you and said, what you need to do, Martin, to build your business is put an ad in the EDP if you want Norfolk coverage, Evening News if you want Norwich coverage, and one of the weeklies if you want regional coverage. You put your ad in, I helped you create a good one, and it worked. Since then, the world has changed completely. So I think it's a human condition. And I think once we understand that the people that we're going to be communicating with have got a barrier even before they read the email, before we make the telephone call, then once you get that mindset right, then it will help. And hopefully today we'll just overcome some of those fears.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Thanks, Glenn. So I know myself, you're absolutely right. When it comes to social media, we don't go on social media to be sold to. We may go on there to buy, and look part of the sales journey to get recommendations, compare products, but we don't go on there to be sold to. And for me, there's nothing worse than when you someone connects with you on LinkedIn, the first thing you get is a sales message. I just switch off straight away from that. And it's all about building relationships. And I guess that's social media marketing, but that relates to sales as well. Because talking of LinkedIn, the recent post you put on there, which I absolutely love, when you helped on your parents' market stall and in Norwich Market from the age of 7. I read that and I thought it was great. If you want to can you just sort of tell us a little bit more about that experience, Glenn?
Yeah, of course. Firstly, I need to make it absolutely clear it's slave labour. I was not a willing worker. Mum and Dad had market stalls on Norwich Market, fruit and veg stalls. Back in the day, it's so different now, when there were 100 plus fruit and veg stalls. I think there was about 4 coffee. There wasn't, Jamie's beer wasn't there. It was massively competitive. So the little story, and I can't remember when it came to me, and I thought I'd share on LinkedIn, is that I didn't realize until I started to understand, and this is a far too important word, the psychology of sales and sales relationships. And the story was, and it's an absolutely true story, and I can picture it to today. So I used to make my money because the walk was open then. Gentleman's Walk in Norwich was open then. I used to make my money by taking big, heavy carrier bags full of stuff on my little sack barrow down to people's cars, and they'd give me what they gave me, which was, and I'm going to embarrass myself in front of Sophia and Ethan, they give me threepence or they give me sixpence. If anybody doesn't know what that is, give me a call. But the story is I could never understand. My dad was brilliant at buying. He bought fresh produce. He displayed it brilliant. He used to set it up. It looked lovely. I could never understand why people would come back, because we were towards the top end of the market, row C, so the middle of the market towards the top end. It wasn't a natural journey. The natural journey would be the stalls at the front or row A, and they did. And I always remember my mum, she had like radar, my mother, absolute radar. She would see this man was sent out on a Saturday morning to do the veg shopping. And that was back in the day, guys, when they bought everything, all the fruit and veg, so enough potatoes to last a week, enough carrots to last a week, and so on and so forth. So it was quite a heavy load. But he used to come up with these 2 little kids, and I guess they were round about my age, perhaps a little bit younger. And Mum always made, if she was serving somebody, she'd finish. She always made the time. She'd go around the front of the stall as they arrived with a little piece of tangerine, some loose grapes, slice of apple, etc. The reason being is all of that stuff was damaged, so she couldn't sell it anyway. So she wasn't actually giving anything away. But what she was doing, and we'll come on to this about relationship selling, she was adding value. And I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that when that guy pulled his car up on the walk on a Saturday morning, it was around about 8:30. That's how vivid that memory is. Around about 8:30, those 2 kids got out of the car and said, "Can we go and see that nice lady?"
Excellent.
He would walk up the road past all their stalls. So just think of that in the marketplaces you're in, wherever it is, whether it's online, whether it's all that noise of all those people they could go to, they had a reason to come and buy off my mum.
Yeah. Again, going back to building relationships again, and for Ethan and Sophia, I think threepence was obviously 3 pence and sixpence was 2.5 pence, wasn't it? Is that correct, Glenn? Sixpence was 2.5 pence?
It was, but
Yeah.
threepence couldn't have been 3 pence, could it? Anyway, we'll have a mass conversation later, Martin.
Okay, so if we, I mean, like I said, I don't like sales, I don't like cold calls, I don't like doing it myself, and it's one of the first things I would outsource completely. But if we do, like if we respond to an email and there is that touch of sales to it, how do we get people to respond? How do we, what do I have to say if I have to call somebody? How do I get people to respond to one of my emails?
I'm just going to go across because I'm going to refer to a relationship building process called Panda. That sits behind me every day of the week. So the question is, or the answer is, sorry, Martin, the answer is, before you send that email, how thoroughly have you prepared yourself? What do you know about the person that you're sending that email to? Professionally, what are they interested in? If you've got a bit of a relationship like we all have on it, personally, what are they interested in? And then it's that email, it's got two key things to it. It's the subject line, and this will be relevant for Sophia and Ethan in terms of email marketing. But it's the same, I think, for everything. It's the subject line. It's catchy but not corny. So don't put free in it, because if you put free in it, half the time it will go into spam filters anyway. And then the most underused piece of success in an email is the PS. So you say what you've got to say, then you finish with a little PS.
Okay.
But you have to write it for their interest. If they're not going to be interested in what you've got to say, and you're always talking about I and me and we being our business, why should they take your call? Why should they read your email? And there's a thing in Panda when we talk about getting people's attention, which I call the 8-second rule. So if you send me an email about your products and services, if I can't within 8 seconds, or maybe 9, depends what sort of day I'm in, but within 8 or under 10 seconds on the phone or by email or by letter, if I don't get what's in it for me, so what I recommend to people I work with is, if you are considering, and I'll offer you this as a facility, if you are considering sending an email or a letter to somebody that you don't know and they don't know you, you're trying to introduce yourself. If you want to send it for me for critique, I'm happy to do that. And I've got a rule, whether it's a paid for client or an associate or a part of a collaboration, you can either use what I suggest, you can amend it to suit your style, or you can destroy my version and carry on anyway. We rush into sales. That's the problem. We rush into relationships. And if you think about it, like if we took networking, Martin, as an example, it's very, very unusual that you make a really tight contact with somebody at the first networking meeting. Mm-hmm. And why should you? And we all know from networking, don't we, certainly face-to-face networking, when a bit like your LinkedIn comment, Martin, when that person suddenly starts to tell you all about them, I'll switch off.
Yeah.
So if you think about, you're taught at networking to say, tell me a bit about yourself, you can do that. You can do web searches. You know, obviously, if it's business to consumer, it's more difficult. But what's in it for them? And then you're not selling to them. You're talking to them about things that interest them. And again, within the Panda process, I'll ask this as a rhetorical question. What do people like talking about most? I'll give you the answer: themselves and their business. So ask questions. Do not give a flying fig. I had to change that a bit, Kim. It was going to be something else, but I'm being polite. They don't give a flying fig about you at this stage. And why should they?
Yeah. You're
not important to them.
And there's a great comparison to, or analogy to, the networking event, because you wouldn't walk into a networking event and just shout, hi, do you know I got 50% off my products today? Because everyone would just turn around, they'd turn your back on you, just switch off, and they wouldn't even talk to you. So it's exactly the same. And I love the in marketing, I know sales and marketing are very closely related, although they're completely different things. I was always taught that you don't use the word we. You know, don't we all over your website, don't we all over your social media. We do this, we do that. Try and change that around to the word you. So it's about that person, what's in it for them. So I love that, Glenn. So basically, if in those sales situations, I wouldn't be very confident. I'm not confident at all trying to sell to people. You know, I shouldn't be in business because I can't sell to people. So how can I build that confidence? What can I do to improve that confidence?
It's understanding what I call the Panda process. It's understanding where you want to be and what you want to achieve. The confidence comes from knowledge, and you gain that knowledge through the preparation stage. If you're ready to, say you're going to do some cold calling, and we're coming on to that in a bit. Say you're going to be doing some calling to people that you've never spoken to before. That's not cold calling. If you get yourself properly ready, that's warm calling, because you know that they are in the marketplace. They potentially could use your products and services, and there's a reason for calling them. Confidence comes with perfect practice, and we will cover, I'm sure, if not, I'll mention it right at the end. The reason most people hate sales is they think it's their job, it's their role, is to tell people about themselves, and it isn't at all. It isn't at all. At that early stage, your job, your role is to find out about the person you're talking to or the person you're sending an email to.
Okay.
That's all it is. Sales is so much it's more based on questions than it is answers, because you cannot provide answers if you haven't asked the questions. I know this is all a little bit simplistic, but then again, I believe that if you break down relationship building through the sales or commercial process into those 5 key components of PANDA, then it just makes sense. I was taught Panda, 30 plus years ago at Eastern Counties newspapers, and I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. But then when it fell, that light bulb moment, I suddenly realized that actually before I made a call to try and tell them about what I wanted to tell them, I found out a bit about them. Now, it's much harder then, because whilst the internet existed, there was nowhere near the amount of, I would want to know, Martin, in your business, if you're talking to a prospect about potentially getting involved in working with you on some level of social media, I'll keep it quite loose, then I would want to find out what their social media presence is like right now. I'd want to find out how their social media presence compares to some of their competitors, either known to you or not known to you. And you'll find out so much more about them there and then.
Mm-hmm. And even, I mean, it's probably classed as stalking, but you know, if I'm a person, I'd rather email someone than rather call somebody. I know we all got different preferences. I would just rather email someone. So I would probably do a little bit of stalking, find out what their interests are. So for example, for you, Glenn, you know, if I was sending you an email, I would ask you, I completely agree about asking questions. So I know you're a big Norwich fan, or if I found out you're a big Norwich fan, so would it be good then in that email title straight away to put, what did you think of the 7-0 win last night? So I know it's piquing your interest, it's personal. Yep. Is that the sort of thing you mean when it comes to sending emails?
I would, but not first off.
Okay.
Because first off, that might be a little bit, and unless on my social media presence, I was, on my LinkedIn or on my Facebook or wherever I was, Instagram, I talked regularly about Norwich City Football Club, then that's absolutely fair game.
Yeah.
I use two little things, and it fits in with the rules around GDPR, the data protection regulations. Is it in the public domain? Have they already told me that they're a keen Norwich City fan? And is my communication of relevant interest? If it is, game on, please do. And if you send me an email like that, then you get my instant attention, as opposed to, Glenn, do you want to be better at social media?
And I guess that's where, like Jamie with the CRM system, that's where that comes in, because you would make a note of that sort of information.
100%, yeah.
I mean, I can relate that to an example, if you don't mind me just telling you. I've probably told you before, with one of my clients who booked up for some social media training, but she had to cancel at the last minute because her dog was unwell and had to go to the vets. So she told me the name of the dog. She told me what was wrong with the dog, and I made a note of that in the CRM system. Now I called her a week later to reschedule that, and the first thing I asked her was, how was Ruba? How's his legs now? And she was blown away that I remembered the dog's name and what was actually wrong with the dog. So it's that sort of little personal touch, that little bit of information that could be the difference between you gaining that sale, I guess.
Spot on. I'm not going to ask the question, but it's, again, a rhetorical question. I suspect everybody on this call, and probably most of the people in our group, have a number of clients and a number of prospects that may be in the dozens or the hundreds, but it's not going to be in the thousands. So we don't need to be anonymous. And one of our big points of difference is not a unique selling point, it's a unique people point. The difference between buying from, and again, I'll use Jamie in CRM. Instead of going to one of the off-the-shelf CRM providers who are faceless, nameless, and all those different things, you actually talk to Jamie Allen and Jamie and Jim. So I've just purchased for the virtual call center, I'm just purchasing some virtual phones, which is basically an online voice over internet protocol system. And I was really tempted to go with a national organization called Vonage, whose range of products, Raymond, I mean, in your levels of expertise here, are vast. And I just found some reviews, can't remember how I found them. No, someone found them for me. And they're after sales in terms of direct contact with a telephony company. You can't talk to them over the telephone. You can only talk to them via what they call live chat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that's a bot to start with and live chat out. So, and again, just take it all down to one. I only send one email at a time. Okay, it may well be that that email is appropriate for 2 or 3 people, or 4 or 5 people, or 10 people, but each of them is tweaked. Now, it may just be 2 words, 1 line, it could be changed. I don't have enough people to want to send the same email to, because I think that's disrespectful to them. And so then, Martin, in that example, if you are going to call them, I don't think it's cold calling at all. If you found out about them, so my introductory call, my first up call, which might be perceived to be the cold call, is to ring Jamie Allen Enterprises and find out that I understand that perhaps the right person to talk to would be Mr. Allen. Can I just confirm that Mr. Allen is best reached on this line? Does he have a direct line? Is there a best email for them? I'd like to send them some information. Oh no, actually I'm Jamie. Crack on. Because what I've done is I've tried to build a relationship, and I'll cover, please Martin, if I don't, or somebody else nudge me, somewhere during this I want to talk about the difference between transactional and relationship selling.
Okay.
Not sure, I think it fits in a bit later, but we'll see.
Okay, so for the sake, Ethan, Sophia, do you both know when we mention in CRM systems, do you know what we mean?
Yeah.
Yep. Sophia? No. So basically, Jamie, do you want to just quickly explain, because we done an interview with Jamie not so long back on this, but Jamie, just in a nutshell, do you want to explain to Sophia what a CRM system is?
Of course I can. CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's a place where you centralize all your customers and you manage those customers, where you build relationships and store data about them. It's a way of keeping your data clean as well, so that you're up to speed and compliant. As Glenn mentioned about GDPR, it's absolutely vital that you have permission to actually market to these people, and you keep that information stored on a CRM. And it's also shared within the company, so everybody has access, so everybody knows that when a customer phones in, they know exactly what the background is, and that's where you store the history. So there's no excuses, and it gives a great customer experience. I think that company really knows what we're doing. That's what a CRM does. It's a centralized system for managing your customers.
Excellent. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
So Glenn, you've given us already some great tips on there, but any other hints or tips that you can give us about sort of overcoming certainly my fear of cold calling anyway?
Just be confident and believe. You have to sincerely believe that the person you're trying to call will have a genuine interest in talking to you. If they haven't, why are you calling them? Not to me, but you can outsource that to other people who'll just do the numbers for you. If you think, right, yeah, I'll speak to Glenn, because I think that I understand Glenn's business, and I think Glenn could certainly benefit from my support, and I am, by the way, in social media, because I can see that he's not where he needs to be with it. And for instance, LinkedIn is a great platform for him, so I can genuinely help him. And that's not a cold call. That's an expert. In this case, Martin Reynolds, whoever it may well be. That's an expert. It's an IT expert or legal expert talking to people about how they can help. So, and then if you haven't got that, then you need to go back one step. And again, I'm referring to Panda again. Don't do it until you're ready. I mean, if that in the short term takes you a lot of time, it might take you 10 minutes per person to get yourself prepared, well, fine. Over time, that will be down to about 5 minutes, because you'll have done some pre-knowledge anyway. But yeah.
Okay, so me personally, and others here as well, we sell a service and not specifically a nice shiny product. So does that make the sales technique any different?
Yeah, and absolutely does for me. And that's where I think, if I could just explain my definition of the two main types of selling. Transactional selling is when you sell something like double glazing, a car, insurance, or something that people only have to make one decision about once, and that decision is basically that's it, done. Yes, I know if you bought a car and you wanted to buy another one in 3 or 4 years' time, but you're almost certainly, or a house, you're almost certainly going to go back. That's a transactional. Now, transactional selling is hugely different because you have to create a need very quickly and close that need very quickly. I'll use the home improvements analogy. If Martin, if you were selling me double glazing and you came into my home and you did all the things that you needed to do, or did it via Zoom, whatever you needed to do, but in the home is very face to face. And I was really getting quite excited. If I didn't buy from you there and then, or probably within the next 24 hours, I would almost certainly go and buy from someone else. Whereas relationships is all about, now, not every case, in most cases, and I suspect that most people on this call are the same, I have to give stuff away that has a value before actually money changes hands. But to me, that's still a sale. If someone says to me, I'd like to come on your Panda Process professional 6-week course, etc., I always say, fine, thank you very much. But what I'm going to do is do the first element, do the P, do the personal professional preparation. If you like it, stay on it. If you don't like it, walk away, because it could be me. So, and I think we do, don't we? You have to demonstrate that you've got the techniques, you've got the skills, you've got the expertise, and people will warm to you for doing that. They'll think, well, crikey, that's good. So, yes, I will sometimes pick up a client that will ring me and say, look, I've got a database, I've got 500 records that I'm desperate to get cleansed in the next 4 weeks. Can you do it for me? Yeah, we can do that. What do you want done? But I'd still say to them, this might sound strange in a selling situation, why don't we just do 100 first, just to make sure that you're completely satisfied with how the project's developing.
Okay, so sorry, Glenn, just to jump in there, to relate that to like Social Sesh, with a 14-day free trial we offer, so would it be better to get that message across, like, well, why don't you just try it, see if it's a fit for you for 14 days. If you don't like it, fine. But if you do like it, then obviously become a member. So would I change that sales message slightly?
I don't think so. Well, I think the message that we all get across is you need to be 100% certain that what I can do is going to work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know it works. I know you work. I know we're all good at what we do, but you need to make sure you're doing it. You don't have to give stuff away. I'll give you a practical example. I do a lot of work for a franchise called Premier Education, whose specialism is in coaching in primary schools. It's wider than that. Over a 3-year period, we generated enough leads for them with predicted conversion levels to generate £10 million worth of business over 3 years. However, every single appointment meeting we made had the same set of criteria. So it wasn't 10 million work down, it was 1 meeting work up. So I think a free trial or a free taster, or let me show you what we do. And I know, Martin, when I was listening to Alex a few weeks back, don't be afraid to give some of your stuff away. I was taught you should give people free what they need to do. How they need to do it is what they pay you for. So if that's what you need to do, just give it to them. And again, we over time we can find examples for every single person. I'm not suggesting, Mel, in any way, shape, or form that you give loads and loads of flowers away, but you might give the advice as to how to keep the flowers. If you're going into garden centre stuff, it may well be the best soil to grow runner beans in, for example. Now, yes, is that sort of advice available everywhere? Yes, but it's specific to Mel, isn't it? Only Mel can tell it, and that's where you build that relationship. And it may well be that in year 1, they don't spend a fortune with you. I look at relationship selling, so past transactional selling, high ticket, job done. Relationship selling may well be your first few transactions, may be relatively low value. They might be tens of pounds, they might be hundreds of pounds, depending on what your products and services are. However, you know, use it, you know, think of, my mum's name was Dot, by the way. So you can think about Dot now, you can think about Pandas, and you can think about Dot. Just think about those people, 100 stalls within, well, I don't know what the size of the market is. It's not very big, is it? It's big enough, but it's not that big. Within half an acre or whatever it may well be, 100 competitors. If she could get X% of her people coming back every week, job done.
It's coming back again to relationships, and I mention that every week. Know, like, and trust. So basically, if you know someone, if you like them, if you trust them, the chances are you're going to buy off them. And flip that the other way. If you don't know them, you don't like them, you don't trust them, you're not going to buy from them. No. Simple as that. Absolutely not. I mean, not everybody, but there are a lot of us here where someone could go online and make a purchase decision with an inanimate object, i.e. a company, an Amazon type company. And I buy loads of stuff off Amazon. If I can't source it locally, I prefer to shop local. But over the last few months, it's been really difficult to shop locally. But none of us are in that ballgame. You might have an online shop, I get that completely, but that shop needs to have your personality. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, if anyone else has got any other questions, we will do a question session at the end if Glenn's okay with that. But feel free to put any questions in the chat, because I can always ask Glenn them as we go along. I'm just conscious I'm asking all the questions here. But the next thing I'm going to move on to, you give us some great tips how to build your confidence overcoming that fear. Now, pricing is a very emotive subject. I see myself as expensive. Kim, you've told me I'm too cheap. But I see myself as expensive. How do I overcome that? So
we with our newfound confidence and our newfound personal professional preparation, we've identified that the need for the kind of services that I provide or you provide, Martin, exist. I think there's two key things that we need to do. And I always ask this question with a prospective new client. And I just say to them, if we were to work together, and we haven't even got any level of detail yet, what would you see to be a satisfactory or excellent return on investment? So return on investment is one, isn't it?
Yep.
And secondly is finding out what their pain are. As in, why are we having this conversation? Because no one, if they come to me, is going to be new to sales. No one, if they go to Jamie, is going to be new to that CRM or data. And same with Raymond, and the same with everybody. We've all had an experience of similar products and services. Why me? What are your pain points? Now, it could well be they're growing at a rate of knots that they're really struggling to stay on top of it. It could well be that for whatever reason, they've lost the plot. That they can't see it. There's an excellent book out there called The E-Myth Revisited.
Yes.
By a guy called Michael Gerber. And what he talks about is technicians, i.e. just because you've got a fantastic skill set at what you do, let's use an example of a plumber here, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a really big plumbing business. And sometimes being too good at what you do means that you focus too much on the job. It's the on and in stuff, isn't it? So has that answered it, Martin? Does anybody want that established?
Yeah, it certainly answered it for me. Anyone else got any questions on that around pricing? Oh, Jamie's just asked one question. Basically, what's your take on consultative selling?
Jamie, if you wouldn't mind, if you just elaborate just a few words, I can give you an answer for it.
Consultative selling, essentially more long-term.
Yep.
Normally larger price point products.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my view is that's my preferred approach anyway. So if we relate that to Martin, I would say that actually you need to join Social Zest. Do you mind me being very specific, Martin? This may not be the answer, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Or it may be Raymond or Kim or anybody. It doesn't matter. You need to work with me for 12 months for this to really work properly. However, I appreciate that making a 12-month commitment to a brand new supplier is not, it's not an easy decision to make. Here's a break clause. Now, Martin, I don't think 14, this is just my view, everyone else may disagree completely. I think I think people need to give it a good go for at least 30 days.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, you know, when I first joined, I had all that that new enthusiasm. Raymond, I saw that look. I had all that enthusiasm. So for the first 14 days, 13 days, 12 days, I was on it like anything. Then other things took over. Whereas, let's look at your return on investment. What would you like to achieve in the first 30 days? Now, I know in what we do, it's not that easy to put tangible. So you can't say, well, you know, increase audience size, because that may not be the answer. You know, in the case of IT, it may well be, well, actually, do you know what? I've got some pain here. If you can get me, I don't know, problem-free for 30 days, you're a miracle worker. And that 12-month contract, that's my pain. My return on investment in sales is, if, and Martin, I don't know whether you're going to come on to this, but my differential between marketing and sales is I use a funnel. Marketing fills the funnel, and your sales processes takes them through the funnel. And that funnel does go down like that. I always, you know, you can put, I don't know, 100 prospect interests at the top. You're never going to get 100 at the bottom. Well, if you do, then let me know and we'll share that with everyone else. But that doesn't matter. It's because it's a relationship you want to build. And then we got things like time and timings. So I would say, Jamie, on the consultative selling, and I know it's an approach that we take on a couple of projects we collaborate on. And I'm sure, Kim, in your world, you don't really want to be a short-term fixer. You want to have a long-term relationship. And you know, I'm Martin, I guess every single person that's involved in social set, even if they've got something they can sell on a short-term relationship. So we'll go back to Kevin and Go Race Events. Yes, of course, he'd love someone to book an event to get started. But in an ideal world, they'd be talking about, is this something that you know, if it's a corporate thing, do you do it annually? You know, if it's something else, you know, is there anybody else that we think we could do it for? Could we do a variation on that? I mean, once you get this dialogue going and running, it's quite easy. But the A in Panda stands for attention. And if you want it, I'll send you a version of Panda Light. It just explains all of those things. And I've got a really simple thing in there in terms of, so if you're sending out a message to me and nothing happens, we haven't got communications, have we? What we've got is, and this is, I hear this all the time with email marketing. Oh, I sent 500 emails out and only 2 people come back to me. How would that have been if we done it right and sent 50 out? You would have still got 2 or 3. And then you could have replicated that, and the next 50, you could have got another 3 or 4. So I am covering some old ground here, but it's very much about relationship selling, is about the person you're working with and not selling to. God, I'm going to write that down. I've never used that one before.
You can have that one for free, Glenn.
Thank you, Martin.
So you mentioned Panda. If you just lean to one side again, please. Thank you. I believe you got a presentation on Panda, which you're willing to share with anyone who wants it. So if anyone in the chat, if they want to just say yes, please, or ping their email in there, Glenn, you're happy to send them
100%. Yeah. And I'll do it today.
So feel free to put in the chat your email address or just yes, please, and I'll pass it on to Glenn. So for me, objection. I mean, when I first started up in business, I've done some cold calling, and I think I soon realised you needed to be pretty thick-skinned because the objections I was getting. But then I soon realised, hang on a minute, I'm selling to people who don't even know me, and I'm trying to sell them advertising space. You know, I did get some bites, but the objections there were 90% probably objections. So how do we overcome objections? Sorry?
Don't overcome objections. Okay. Welcome them. Ask for them. Predict them. I'm doing a session which I'll share with this group with a guy called Colin McLean. And part one of some sort of little 2-minute videos is about overcoming objections. And it begins with, in the biggest capitals you've ever seen, don't. They're coming. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, they're coming. We are conditioned, aren't we, to have a price objection. And sometimes that price objection is, and as I think Kim had mentioned about your services, Martin, that's not enough. Is he as good as he thinks he is? Is he as good as he should be? Is that the right price? So without doing it now, but if you want to put it in the chat or contact me personally, if you want to come up with the top 5 objections that you find in your business, or Sophia and Ethan, you think might exist in some businesses, Mel, please do, send them to me. Because what happens is when I'm talking to somebody, I much prefer face-to-face, but I'm okay with Zoom now. I normally say that, you know, working with people like yourselves, what we normally find is there are 3 or 4 things that we need to discuss and overcome before we can move on. And I mention price, I mention my credentials, and I mention the other things because I know about them. I know what their issues are. As often as not, it's that they've had a bad experience somewhere else. You know, as often as not, it's that they're already with somebody, they're not happy. And I would use the field of accountancy here. No accountants on today, but if we got any in the group, that's fine. A lot of people stick with their accountant because they're scared to move.
Yeah.
And so they'll be very different for all of you. I mean, Jamie and I know with getting data properly cleansed, it's apathy. It's just, or I am going to swear now, sheer laziness. So, but if you know that's the situation, you can ask for the objection, repeat the objection, and then actually they'll go, oh yeah, see what you mean. They're coming. If you make a sales presentation, you haven't had an objection, you haven't sold them enough. You haven't found out what they really need, the N of Panda. You haven't really done a deep enough needs diagnosis. So no, welcome them. And that psychologically, I think, Martin, also makes you think, actually, if I'm going to cold call, I don't mind these. I'm going to get some objections on my cold calling. You know, and I did it for 9 years at Eastern County Youth, the selling advertising space. I knew what the objections were. I don't need any more business. And they'll vary, you know, and if you come across a client that doesn't need any more business, they got a really serious problem. I'm too busy. And I use my plumber analogy now. We've got our local plumber, if we can ever find him. If I see his van, I just put a wheel clamp on it because it's the only. But he's a one-man band that could have 4 or 5 people working. Even in a relatively small place like Skegness, we've got something like 200,000 caravans within 15 miles. So all those opportunities to fix leaking taps and fix showers and stuff. And it's mindset. Growth is very much, again, it's another thing, growth mindset, which isn't my level of expertise. I learned a lot of that from John Burrows at, he runs a thing called eFix, but yeah, so welcome them.
So learn from your objections, basically. Yeah.
No. And again, if you've got any specific objections, probably best to email them rather than putting them in the chat here. But you can if you want. Email me them, and I'll go through them with you. And it takes probably half an hour, and then a lot of work for you. You know, a couple of hours after that, they go, crikey heck, that never really was an objection, was it? It was my objection. So, have you ever anybody heard the phrase "the pound in your pocket"? And this definitely applies with. So I don't know if you charge £100 an hour for whatever you're doing, or you charge 50 quid for a fantastic bouquet of flowers, or whatever it may well be, or £2,000 for a Go Race event, you have to get out of your mind that what that £100 means to you. Crikey, how would anybody ever pay £100 an hour for my services? Well, they would pay that because you know what their needs are, you know what their pain is, you know what that return event, and that is why. As often as not, once you do that, you think, you know what, I am underselling myself.
Yeah, excellent. So Kevin's just put in the chat on pricing for any prospective clients. He would try to get an idea of what they would want to achieve, and if possible, an idea of budget to get the desired results. So any thoughts on that, Glenn?
Yeah, great point, Kevin, and really good. Just to say, what are your objectives for this? Let's call it project, for this piece of work. What are your objectives for this piece of work? And have you done any research, or do you have any thoughts as to a potential budget? You might as well. That price objection only comes up when you don't talk early enough. And again, lack of confidence means that we try and avoid it. If I don't talk about price, neither will they. That's never happened, has it? So no, I think it's a good approach, Kevin. I think that just saying that. Had you well, I mean, I think I always say with what I do, I'm probably just refreshing your memory more than teaching you new skills. The thing that will be different for all of you after today is that little thing behind my left shoulder, which is the Panda. Because once you see how they fit in, you'll go, well, that's the light bulb moment. But no, that's a great approach, Kevin. And Mel, I can see that, you know, whether it's some wedding flowers or what sort of thing, because there are loads of people that would like to work with us that can't afford to work with us, and I'm sorry, you know.
Absolutely.
That's just not where we are. I'd love to do that, but you know, this is going to cost £2,000, and you've got £1,000 budget. Without being rude, it's the, you know, if you go into Car Alley in Norwich, whatever is at the Boundary Ring Road's called, if you walk into a main dealer showroom or you walk into a second-hand car lot, your level of expectation is going to be really different. And it's, what's the phrase? Trying to buy a Rolls Royce with a Ford Escort budget. You can't do it. And Kevin, I think it's a really good point. And I would say to everybody on here and everybody that ever wants to listen, and I'm happy to have this conversation offline, be proud of your price list. Because if you're not proud, I guarantee they'll pick it up within about 5 minutes.
I don't have a price list.
Yeah, no, you have pricing based on. So if you said something, bespoke. Yeah. So yeah, what we've got is we've got a bespoke option. If someone said to me, what's your hourly rate? I would say to them a bit like you would say, Kevin, for what?
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? If it's for something that's relatively simple, then of course it's not going to be as much as something that's going to need 30, 40 years worth of experience. Mm-hmm. However, I now, and this has taken me a long while to do this, I now understand that I need fewer, better customers that want to build a relationship with me than those that want a short-term fix.
That's it.
I like most of us have chased that dream of having lots of customers, margin and yield. I guess you've all heard of that phrase. You know, do you want yield or volume? Do you want a good margin so you're making a good rate per hour, rate per event, or do you want lots and lots of business? And then other little cliches come into phrase, other phrases come in like busy fool. Been there, been there.
I think we've all been there, Glenn. Yeah, and it was one of the first things I was always taught. It was best to have 10 customers paying you £10 rather than 20 customers paying you £5.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, you're doing less work for the same amount of money.
Yeah, you need a wide enough client base, but not too wide. If your client base is massive because you're not charging enough, you've got a challenge. And I'll tell you what, another thing, sorry, this is going to sound a bit dictatorial. I absolutely guarantee you, if you've got existing customers and you put your prices up by 10% and you've got a great relationship with them, they'll not blink. They'll go, yeah, I get that. I understand that. No, like, trust. Appreciate why that is. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've actually had clients tell me I'm not charging them enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that, haven't I, Kim?
It's nice. It's a lovely feeling. But at the end of the day, when they say that, you go, bugger.
Okay, so just moving on, Glenn. In sales, are there any bad words in sales? Are there words that we need to avoid? Are there words we need to use?
Yeah, I think we covered it when we talked about email and direct mail and telephone. Stop talking about yourself. Every time you write yourself a script or you write an email draft or you write a letter draft, I looked at one 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was a 5-paragraph letter. Direct mail to me is in the marketing terms, a really good way forward. That's another conversation for another day. 4 of the 5 paragraphs began with I or we. And that goes into your mind. This person is, and he's an absolute expert and genius at what he does, but he's awful at creating good copy, good tonality in his copy. So yeah, and just think about, stop talking about yourself.
Yeah.
This is a tough one, but it works really well. If you're having a conversation with somebody either over the phone or on Zoom, or you're swapping an email exchange, keep asking questions, because it's so easy to take the first sign of, oh, they want to do some work with me. I better close this deal now because I've been taught that, you know, always be closing, A, B, C, and all those sorts of things. But no, that's not the case. Just say, that's fantastic. Have you thought about perhaps doing this? Because you're thinking about them all the time on it. You're not selling more. Yeah. And you'll find yourself, once you train yourself to do that, which is the A stage of Panda, getting people's attention, you'll find it becomes natural. And by the way, it works brilliantly in life.
You know, Glenn, I was going to say exactly the same thing. Is because that's one thing I've always to drum into my kids is to ask people questions, because it carries that conversation on. Yeah. It shows you're interested in them. So not only in sales, but in general life as well.
That's why selling to is dead, in my opinion. That's why I use relationship, not sales. And I always, and thanks for the opportunity to do it right at the beginning, explain why I'm not saying Panda's an effective sales process, because it's an effective relationships process. And in many cases, the outcome, there'll be a commercial relationship, i.e. a sale. That should be a welcome outcome because of all the things that you've done to get where you're at. I don't sell anything to anybody. People buy from me. That is, you know, that's hugely arrogant, but then again, I'm good. No, I'm seriously.
Modest as well.
But they do. People want to use my products and services, as they do everybody on here. Why? Because there's an element of like in it. You know, they actually, you know, I like that style. And I don't know how many clients. I probably walk away from 50% of the people that, particularly with my virtual sales director bit, I just walk away from it because I'm not the right fit.
Yeah.
I don't provide instant solutions. I provide long-term relationship-based solutions. And it's not that I can't, it's just I choose not to.
Yeah. You're stressed about asking questions. I mean, I've been asking you questions all morning, but I've got one more to ask and that's it. And then we'll just open the floor to anyone else who's got any questions. Can you show me how to be better at sales?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I will send you the Panda Light sales process. And my role in that is that you should understand exactly what I'm saying. So you should be able to look at that and think, crikey heck, that, you know, that's really simple. How on earth does he make a living out of doing this? Because, again, it's the light bulb moment. And I haven't got one with me, but I always have one for a client. I do have Panda cuddly bears, so I literally hold one up because just think about it. Think about this logically. For you, Martin, to become better at sales, if before you make a sales presentation, whether that's to a prospect, a client, or however they are, if you're professionally and personally prepared, like we all had to prepare to come on today's call, then you're in a good place to go to the next stage. If you then either verbally or in writing, send them communications that asks them much more about them than you, then you'll get feedback. So when I send you Panda Light, at the end of each section, there's a little illustration for you to look at and think, oh, right, get that. The next bit, which we haven't really covered today, but that's the question bit. If I find out what their needs and wants are, then actually, if their needs and wants match what I do, we can carry on, can't we? Then I can define my proposition, define my offer based on what they need and want. And so, and we haven't got time today, but next time we're on a group, I'll tell you about when a young man at Roy's of Wroxham tried to sell me a lawnmower. I'll tell you now, it's 30 seconds. Went into Roy's of Wroxham, must be 20 years ago. Went into Roy's of, this is the needs diagnosis. Went into Roy's of Wroxham and they have this fabulous display of Hater lawnmowers. So I can remember it vividly. And this young man said, yeah, good morning, sir. How are you? What he didn't say is anything specific you're looking for in the store today, I can help you. What he said was, put his arm out. What do you think? I said, they look fabulous. Anyway, I am cutting it to the quick now. I said, that's a really good sales presentation, but I live in a second-story flat. Had he gone a bit further and said, is there anybody in your family that uses a lawnmower? I could have said, yeah, actually, my dad does. And, you know, there was a conversation then, but to me, I'm not the customer.
Excellent. Thank you. So thanks, Glenn. Mel, sorry, Ellen has just asked one question because she apologizes for missing the start of the meeting, but is Panda something that you've created yourself?
Ooh, do you have to tell the truth?
Yeah, well, we're recording this, so I probably would, yeah.
No, Martin. I was taught Panda when I went to work in telesales in my mid-20s at Eastern Counties newspapers, and I'm now going to reference by an incredibly lovely lady called Judith Jackson. Now, our sales program there, which we use Panda as the basis, was 2 working weeks. You had 2 weeks to learn to be able to even take an inbound call, let alone make an outbound call. I resigned for each of the 8 days because I didn't want to learn. My mind was shut, mindset. And on the 8th night, I said to her, like, Judith, I can't do it. This is all too structured and, you know, ex-market trader, by the way, too formal for me. She said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take you to the social club, buy you a beer. No, so Panda comes from originally introduced, I think it was initially Thompson's newspaper group, and then it came there. But I've had to develop over the years. So the The thing that's changed most with Panda over the years is the very last element, is the A, which is the act, the action. I cannot tell you, and I've employed hundreds of salespeople through my career, how many people are great at everything except doing what they say they're going to do. And I leave that one with a, if you say you're going to do something. So I've just said today, if anybody wants Panda Light and I get the email address, I will send it to them today.
Okay. So just stressing that if anyone just wants to put in the chat bar, just yes, please. Obviously, I've got your email addresses. If you'd like a copy of the Panda Light presentation from Glenn, just put it in the chat bar. I know I definitely would.
Yeah,
that would be great. So I'm just conscious we're a couple of minutes left. Anyone got any questions they want to ask Glenn right now?
Can I have a couple of toughies? Martin's been very kind to me today.
Come on, someone think of a tough question to ask Glenn. Put him on the spot to finish with.
Except Jamie, because he's got dozens.
I've got a little question.
Please.
You'll know that solicitors have special rules when it comes to marketing, and we're not allowed to cold call.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have issues in selling. I don't have any problems in selling to people that come to me and that I can meet them on that face-to-face level. So if somebody come in for a will, I'll talk to them about all the other things that they need. I talk to them about their families and what their families need, and I get sales in relation to that. Where I fall down is the keeping in regular contact thereafter. So once I've done all of that stuff, we have a whole wills bank of clients. We have clients from other departments, and where I fall down is using that database sort of moving forward. Obviously, when they sign our initial terms and conditions, they give consent for us to contact them in the future and what have you. But it's a question of how you go about that without looking like you're trying to sell them something again. Is that something you can help with?
Yeah, and it very much fits into Kim in work that Jamie and I do together. And it's absolutely essential. Yeah, developing that relationship almost like you know they wanted a will, they've had a will, everyone's happy with that. You've got lots of other things they could, 100% more than happy to have that conversation with you, and whether it's you and I to start with, and then we get Jamie involved in it. And it's so important. This is that relationship selling. If a customer's worth £500 now and you work with them for 10 years, that's a £5,000 customer. Now, it may well be, and from Eleanor's point of view, I just understand that she's in photography. If she's in, for instance, portrait photography, then not everybody wants a family portrait every year, maybe every 2 or 3 years. So the dynamics of different industries change. And with Mel, you can easily look at Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, although I probably don't as much as I should do. But you know what I mean? You can look at those, but think of all those other occasions. Like you're saying, Kim, with a database, I would, if I was working with Mel, I would say to Mel, if you've got a database, people, and think of all the people that do with this on social media, they ask us when our birthday is, don't they? And you get loads of birthday wishes from people you barely know. Well, yeah, absolutely, Kim. And I think there's two routes here. One is, I would call it, I would call it customer marketing. Jamie, if you've got better words, please tell me, because it's your expertise. I would want to turn a customer into a client. To me, a customer is someone that's bought something from me. A client is something that buys stuff from me regularly. Now, your messages, Kim, might well be, and I'm sorry, this is relevant to everybody, if you can find something in the public domain that is relevant to them, that isn't all you, it is all about simple law. It could well be, I can't think how, it could well be that COVID has had this impact. A lot of people have decided to do things differently. Take Martin, I can't remember what you called this, you take a national story and put a local spin on it. You said that the other week, using somebody else's content. It was
the user-generated content.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say, Martin. I just thought I'd let you get a couple of words in, but no. So yeah, happy to have that conversation, Kim. 15, 20 minutes. If you send me your email address, I'll send you an email that's got a book a call link. That'd be good to chat. Jamie, would you agree that Kim's in the right place to use a database to go forward?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we had a brief conversation when I did my CRM pitch about your database, that you had a number of customers across your business, which each had verticals to target. And it was that, I think that was the conversation that we had then.
Well, I'll pick up with Kim. Have I got time for just one more piece of advice?
Yeah, absolutely, Glenn.
So We spend hours and hundreds of pounds generating interest, and we spend hours and hundreds of pounds generating clients. And then we start again. So we'll do some more social media marketing, we'll do some more email marketing, we'll do some more direct mail, we'll do some more telemarketing. And Sophie and Ethan, I think this is very relevant in where you are in your careers right now. And whoever you're working for, question them, because the one thing that most businesses fall short of is referral marketing. So whatever you've done, it's if you got to that stage, we're doing business together, and I don't get this. Why somebody would say, why somebody wouldn't say, you know, I'm pleased that you're pleased and things are going really well and everything's going great. Is there anybody else you think that could benefit from my services? The reason I ask for that is I don't spend a fortune on direct marketing and direct advertising, because I much rather work with people who know of me and like me and trust me. So you back to know, like, and trust. And you know, that's the bedrock of anything like this. To me, this is a networking group. It's a specific networking group, but you want to build that trust up. So I know that I can ask Jamie for a referral because he gives me referrals because we work together, and vice versa. And Raymond, in your case, I bet you know, thinking, crikey, heck, wish you hadn't said that. I've got 10 people that I work with regularly. I haven't. Last time I asked them is if there is anybody else that's had COVID-related broadband issues, for example, and I'm pigeonholing you. Sorry, I don't know enough about any of your businesses, but pigeonholing you to say, well, actually, is IT reliability an issue for you, or what could it be? Why wouldn't? But we don't do it. Look at Martin nodding away, thinking, "Crikey, yeah, I wish he hadn't said that." You've got everybody on here, Martin. Why don't you ask all of us for one referral?
Yeah. Absolutely, and then it's the referral marketing scheme is something we're going to be, me and Raymond have discussed. We're going to be putting together.
Oh, okay,
but that's great. So we're going to be having a landing page for referral marketing for the members. But yeah, that's great. Just asking for one referral from each member. You know, why not? Absolutely, Glenn. Thank you very much. I'll send you a number of people have asked for the Panda Light presentation.
Yeah.
So I'll send you their details. Thank you so much. It's been great.
My pleasure.
Interviewing this morning. I'm sure everyone will agree. Glenn has been giving us some great hints and tips, and such a lovely bloke with it, you know, combined with that as well. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. This recording will be put up on the website. Ethan and Sophia, you can watch it again because that's publicly live in the website anyway. But Glenn, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so
much.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you.
And I'll speak to you all soon. Take care.
Thanks, Martin.
See you
Thanks,
later.
guys.
Hey, everyone.